Hey everyone, in our last series of videos we looked at univariate descriptive statistics, which are very useful for characterizing the data that we've collected. We looked at frequency distributions, which help us visualize the central tendency and range of our data. We then looked at specific calculations for those two concepts, first for central tendency, the mean, median, and mode, and then for dispersion, range, interquartile range, and standard deviation. All of these quantities are easily calculated in statistical packages, so let's look at how we do that in SPSS. All right, so here we have our data set in SPSS. We have our student names as our first column, class standing, second column, class average, third column, and grade letter as the fourth column. Taking a look at the variable view tab, we can see that student names are a string variable. This means that they are recognized by SPSS as a string of characters rather than numeric values. We've got class standing, which is an ordinal variable that we've coded here for 1 as first-year students, 2 as sophomore students, 3 as junior students, and 4 as senior students. Our third variable is average, which reflects the student's final average in the course. This is a continuous variable or a scale variable that theoretically ranges from 0 to 100, although in practice those variables are more compacted. And finally, we created a grade letter conversion for the average, where zeros are Fs, 60 and below, ones are Ds, 60 to 69, twos are Cs, 70 to 79, threes are Bs, 80 to 89, and fours are As, 90 and above. So looking at our data once again, we have all that information coded in our variable view tab. If we want to first develop our frequency distribution table, we can do that by going to the Analyze menu under Descriptive Statistics and Frequencies. Here you'll see that you have your available variables in the left-hand side, and you're going to move your interested variable to the right-hand side under Variables and click OK. This will display our frequency distribution table. You'll see that we get a table here that looks very much like the tables we created by hand in our earlier video. We have first-year students, sophomore students, junior students, and senior students, with a frequency of 10 first-year students, 10 sophomore students, 3 junior students, and 2 senior students. We can also see the percentages. So we have 40%, 40%, 12%, and 8%. You'll notice in this table we have a column for valid percent. Valid percent refers to the percentage of observations for each category where there's actual data. If there are missing data, say a set of students where we didn't have information on their class standing, that missing data would receive a percentage of the percent column, but would be discounted or deleted from the valid percent column. Finally, the cumulative column matches the one we looked at earlier. Let's do another frequency distribution table to illustrate. Once again, we go to Analyze, Descriptive, Frequencies. Here we're going to move grade letter into our variable column. As we worked on by hand earlier in our lecture series, we can see the frequency tables match. We've got A's, B's, C's, D's, frequencies, percentages, and cumulative percents. As we noted before, frequency distribution tables are for nominal, ordinal, and dummy variables. In particular, you should not create frequency distribution tables for continuous variables because there are simply too many values to make sense of. Here, even with our limited data set of 25 observations, you can see we get a quite large and lengthy column when we use the class average. That's because in a continuous variable, most of the data points are going to only occur once. This doesn't help visualize or collapse the data for the user. If you have a continuous variable and you want to make a frequency distribution table, you should convert your continuous variable to ordinal categories like we did with grade letter. If you want to create bar charts, histograms, or pie charts, you can do that by going to the Graph option and Chart Builder. The dialog box lets you pick from various different charts. You can see here on the bottom, we have bars, lines, areas, pies. Let's make a bar chart. Here we have simple bar charts, clustered bar charts, stacked bar charts. There are also 3D options. Let's go with a simple bar chart. We can either double-click or drag the bar chart to the viewing window. Once here, it's going to tell me on the side menu what I want in my bars. Here, I want to keep them as counts, which is similar to what we created by hand. For the x-axis, I'm going to move my variable of interest, let's say class standing, and the y-axis will automatically turn to the count. That's all I need to do to create a simple bar chart in SPSS. I click OK, and we get the bar chart that we looked at earlier in our video. We have 10 first-year students, 10 sophomore students, 3 junior students, and 2 senior students. Going back to Chart Builder, we can change out the variables if we want. We can then create a pie chart by going to Pie Chart. Once again, we're going to leave the statistics as count, which you see on the right-hand menu, and we're going to move our variable of interest, let's say it's class standing, back to the bottom. This will create a pie chart identical to the one we saw in our previous video. Before we look at histograms, let's see how we can calculate quantities of interest for categorical variables. Here I'm going to go back to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and Frequencies. Once again, I'm going to select the variable of interest. In this case, I want to look at class standing. But instead of directly clicking OK to create my frequency distribution table, I'm going to select the Statistics button. This will allow me to check various different options. I can ask for percentile values. I can also ask for the 3 measures of central tendency, mean, median, and mode. Since this is a categorical ordinal variable, I'm not going to ask for the mean since the mean is inappropriate. I'm going to ask for the median and the mode. I can ask for my quintiles, which would help me calculate my interquartile range, and I can ask for the range. Clicking continue, I'm still going to get my frequency distribution table, but now I'm going to get an additional box called frequencies. You'll see that my frequency box has my quantities of interest. I've got my median value of 2, and I have a modal value of 1. You'll notice, however, that it only reports one of the modal values, even though multiple modes are reported. You'll notice this in the footnote A. I'll also get my range and my percentile cut points, 25th, 50th, and 75. If I have a continuous variable like class averages, I can use the same menu to ask for the mean and the standard deviation, which are both appropriate for continuous variables, but not appropriate for categorical variables. I click the boxes and click continue and OK. I still get my frequency distribution table, and I also get my statistic table, including my mean, my median, my mode, my standard deviation, my range, and my percentiles. These are very handy tools for calculating quickly central tendency and dispersion. If I want to create a histogram for my continuous variable, I go back to Chart Builder. You'll see that in my bottom half of my dialog box, there's an option for histogram. I can pick my histogram option, and just like I did for my bar chart, drag my variable name to the x-axis and click OK. Here we get a histogram. Once again, a little bit different than a bar chart because the bars are touching, showing that the values are continuous. You'll also notice that asking for a histogram also generates a mean and standard deviation value within the figure. Finally, an alternative to get statistics is to go to Descriptive Statistics and go under Descriptives. Here you can compare multiple variables on key elements. However, when you click the option menu, it's not quite as diverse as going under frequencies. You can only get a mean, standard deviation, and range. You can't get the quartiles, and you can't get the mode or the median. Still, asking for your statistics by either Analyze Frequencies or Analyze Descriptives are equally valid, particularly if you're interested in getting the mean, the standard deviation, and the range. Now that we've gone over how to do this in SPSS, you can give this some practice by using the data that I've used in the video, which can be downloaded on D2L or my website.